Manawaker Studios Flash Fiction Podcast is supported by patrons on Patreon. To find out more or to add your support for as little as $1 a month, visit patreon.com/Manawaker. Welcome to Manawaker Studios Flash Fiction Podcast. I'm CB Drogi. This week, Breaking Through by Eva Schultz. Try it again. Tice rested her palms against the cool brick wall and looked at her sister. This isn't going to work, Varya said, crossing her arms and glancing up and down the tunneling catacomb hallway. The dimensional prison curved out gently to the left and right, row after row of dark brown brick arches. Ambient light seeped in from no discernible source, and a stairway to the left led up to nothing but a brick wall. Tice had already lost track of time. How long had it been since the magician's uprising attacked the royal family, and she and her sister were transported to this endless hallway? Of course it won't work if you don't commit, Tice said, trying to keep her voice calm. Transposition is about concentrating as much as it is about the words themselves, but your hands have to be on the bricks. The magic flows through your palms, remember? Like Mother taught us. Shouldn't we keep walking? Varya took several steps along the cobbled floor. Maybe if we keep going, we'll find... Find what? Tice put her hands on her hips. It's nothing but the same row of arches over and over forever. The only way we can get home is to transpose. But maybe if we... Varya trailed off, swallowing hard, her eyes shiny with tears in the low light. Varya, Tice said, this is the only chance we have. She took her sister by the hand and led her to the brick wall. Here. Tice stood facing the wall and pressed both palms against it. Stand like this. A memory rushed over her. She remembered standing in the palace hallway with her mother and sister, pressing their hands to the stone, mumbling the incantation. Mother stepped easily through the wall each time. Eventually, Tice could do it too. It always took her breath away when the stone melted through her hands and she stepped into the cool blackness of the wall's interior before emerging in the next chamber. Her mother was always waiting for her smile broad, her eyes shiny with pride. Varya hadn't yet learned to transpose before their mother died suddenly from a fever, and their grieving father discontinued their magic lessons. Varya sighed but imitated her sister's pose. I never could get the words right, no matter how many times I practiced. Well, you were a little girl, Tice replied. You're grown now. You can get it right this time. Stay with me. Jilhana Makdi Ezerotinth Radu. Joanna? No, it's Jilhana. Varya pushed off from the wall. It's not as if I'm not trying. Tice stared at her. I never said you weren't. Varya turned and paced the cobblestones. I always tried my best. I really did. I know I would have learned it eventually if we hadn't stopped. Tice sighed. I know our training was a long time ago, and we never got very far, but it's all we have. I know I can do it. I bet I can teach you, too. You should just go without me, Varya said quietly. Tice stared at her. I'm not going to leave you here. But I can't do it. Varya's eyes were wet. I never could, not even once. Mother always said it takes a lot of energy and focus to transpose. You should go while you've still got the energy to get through. She sighed heavily and wilted against the wall in tears. Tice reached to embrace her sister. I know you're scared, she said. So am I. I wish we had Mother here to help us. Varya shook her head. Mother knew I couldn't do it. Tice released her sister and leaned back to look at her. What are you talking about? Varia breathed shakily. You could do it by the third lesson. Mother was so proud of you. I remember how we'd all try together, and you'd vanish through the wall, and I'd just be standing there saying the words over and over, and nothing would happen. She closed her eyes and wiped her tears with both hands. Then Mother would come back through the doorway, and the look on her face. She was so ashamed of me. She would push me against the wall and say the incantation over and over, but I'd get so scared I'd forget the words. She shook her head. I thought it would be better if she just gave up trying to teach me. But once she did, I realized she'd given up on me altogether. Tice's mind raced through the childhood memories again. She could still see her mother's face, glowing with love and pride every time she came through the wall. How had she forgotten Varia in all this? She knew her sister had never been able to transpose, but she'd never realized that the happiness of the memories was hers alone. Tice reached for her sister's hand and laced their fingers together. Jilhana, Makdi, Ezerotinth, Radu. Varia squinted at her. What are you doing? Tice caught her other hand and squeezed it. Jilhana, Makdi, Ezerotinth, Radu. The magic flows through palms, right? She repeated the phrase over and over. Slowly, the love and trust began to blaze in her sister's eyes. Now, Tice said, put your hands back on the wall. Varia hesitated, so Tice placed her sister's hands in position, then stood behind her. She wrapped her arms around her sister, placing her hands over Varia's, her fingertips touching the cool bricks. Together, Tice said. The sisters whispered the magic words, and their hands slid into the wall. This has been Breaking Through, written by Eva Schultz. For more information about Manawaker Studios' other projects, including books and games, visit manawaker.com, which is also where you should go to learn more about the authors featured on this podcast or to get details about submitting a story. The Flash Fiction Podcast theme song is by Kevin MacLeod. Manawaker Studios' director of DICE is Ben Baston. I'm CB Droege. You can follow me on Twitter and Facebook at CBDROEGE. Thanks for listening. On the next installment of Manawaker Studios' Flash Fiction Podcast, Bowser was mid-sized, about 2 feet tall, the color of charcoal, so dusky he looked like he would darken the palms of anyone who touched him.